Welcome ladies and gentlemen to MTG Foil. 2019 was a great year for Goblin Tribal decks, with the come of Munition Expert, a reprint of Goblin Matron, Goblin Lieutenant, Goblin Ringleader. A new deck has arisen, it's called Goblin Vials. What's so cool about Goblin Vials is that it has a potency to find a goblin, which can provide answers to any threat on the current board state. The mana base Goblin Vials is a Rakdos color deck, so that means red and black. I'll start with the mana base. The mana base is quite straightforward, although it contains some very awesome lands that works really well with goblins. First the fetch lands, Bloodstained Mire. Pay 1 life, sacrifice Bloodstained Mire, search a library for a swamp or mountain card and put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle your library. We're running a 4-off. The last fetch land, Wooden Foothills. Tap it, pay 1 life, sacrifice Wooden Foothills, search your library for a mountain or forest card and put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle your library. 1-off. Wooden Foothills. Auntie's Hovel. As Auntie's Hovel comes into play, you may reveal a goblin card from your hand. If you don't, Auntie's Hovel comes into play tapped. You can tap it for 1 red and 1 black mana. 4-off. Blood Crypt. Land, swamp and a mountain. Tap it for 1 black or 1 red. As Blood Crypt enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. Nice about this land, it's a swamp and a mountain, so we can fetch it with Bloodstained Mire and Wooden Foothills. A 2-off. Cavern of Souls. As Cavern of Souls enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, which is obviously goblins we're gonna choose. Tap it for 1 colorless, or tap it at 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can be countered. A 4-off, Cavern of Souls. Field of Ruin, a land. Tap it at 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice Field of Ruin, destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls. Each player search his or her library for a basic land and card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle his or her library. A 4-off. Great Face Tron, Valakut and other shenanigans we can find in Modern. Further we're running 3 basic mountains and a swamp. So 3 basic mountains and a swamp. So we're running 23 lands in this deck. Let's jump into the spells. Aether Vial. 1 colorless artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep you may put a charge counter on Aether Vial. To prevent yourself from forgetting this trigger, at your upkeep always put 2 dice on the top of your deck, so before you draw a card you've got a small reminder. If you tap it, you may put a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters of Aether Vial from your hand onto the battlefield. Great about this ability is that you can do it anytime as long as you have counters on Aether Vial. A key card in this deck, we're running a 4-off. The maximum amount of counters you want to put on Aether Vial is 4 and a minimum of 2. Starfire. 1 red, tribal instant, goblin. Starfire deals 2 damage to target creature or player. We're running a 1-off. We're not running any lightning bolts or other removal spells. It has to do with Goblin Matron and Goblin Ringleader. We're trying to prevent ourselves to draw non-goblin cards. And because this is a tribal instant goblin card, it doesn't really matter if we draw this. More about this later. Starfire 1-off. This is a creature heavy deck, so the rest of the spells only contains creature cards, goblin creature cards. Skirk Prospector. 1 red. Creature goblin. Sacrifice a goblin, add 1 red mana to your mana pool. It's a 1-1. We're running a 4-off. Now the 2 drops, Mock War Marshal. 1 red, 1 colorless. Creature Goblin Warrior. Echo. 1 red, 1 colorless. At the beginning of your upkeep, if this came under your control, since the beginning of your last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its echo cost. Since Goblin Vials is a grindy deck, it's always advisable to pay the echo cost against creature decks like humans, Merfolk, Dredge, because it provides a free blocker. And why? Because when War Marshal enters the battlefield or dies, put a 1-1, a red goblin creature token onto the battlefield. And if it gets targeted by anything, you get a free token back. Mock War Marshal, a 4-off. Nice little trick, if you play first turn Skirk Prospector and second turn Mock War Marshal, you can actually sacrifice those 2 for mana. You get another token, so you can make of 2 mana, 3 mana. Munition Expert. I think this is the strongest card in this deck. 1 black, a 1, a red. A creature goblin. Flash. Flash means that you can play it at any time as long as you have priority. When Munition Experts enter the battlefield, you may have it deal damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the number of goblins you control. Definitely a 4-off. It can kill Mudafalts, Okos, Chandras, Lilianas, change the Maya Sculptor, as long as you have enough goblins in play. Munition Expert, great surprise for your opponent, awesome card, definitely a 4-off. Goblin Creator Maker, 1 red, 1 colorless, creature Goblin Warrior. Pay 1, sacrifice Goblin Creator Maker and choose 1. Goblin Creator Maker deals 2 damage to target creature or destroy target colorless non-land permanent. Great face Tron, Ujin, Karn the Great Creator, Wormcoil Engine. We're running 1 in the main board. Goblin Creator Maker. A 2/2. Goblin Pile Driver, 1 red, 1 colorless, creature Goblin Warrior. Protection from blue. This creature can be blocked, targeted, dealt damage or enchanted by anything blue. Whenever Goblin Pile Driver attacks, it gets +2/+0 until the end of turn for each other attacking goblin. One of the best goblins in this deck, especially when you've got a few others out. If you swing with this one, you force your opponent to block. Great vs control decks and Merfolk decks. A 3-off, Goblin Pile Driver. Basilic Mons, 1 red, 2 colorless, legendary creature, Goblin Warrior. Whenever Basilic Mons or another goblin you control dies, Basilic Mons deals 1 damage to any target. For 1 red and 3 colorless, sacrifice a goblin, create 2 red goblin creature tokens. It's a 2/2. Great vs elves or other small creature decks. Suddenly your 1/1 goblins blocked by 2/2s, still dealing damage to your opponent. A 1-off in the main board. Goblin War Chief, 2 red, 1 colorless, creature Goblin Warrior. A 2/2. Goblin spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast. Goblin creatures you control have haste. Makes all your goblins cheaper, plus it gives all your goblin haste. Definitely a 4-off in this deck. Goblin Matron, 1 red, 2 colorless, a 1/1. Creature Goblin. When Goblin Matron enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a goblin card. Review that card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library, a 1/1. Thanks to the reprint in Modern Horizon, goblins finally have the card that they really want to have in Modern, and that's Goblin Matron. When we play this card, we can find any answer to our threats. If there's a planeswalker in game that we cannot handle, we fetch Munition Expert. If we're playing against a blue control deck, we're fetching Goblin Pile Driver. If there's a Plague Engineer in game, we're fetching a Tarfire. This deck runs and rolls with Goblin Matron. Definitely a 4-off. Goblin Ringleader, 1 red, 3 colorless, creature goblin, 2/2, haste. When Goblin Ringleader comes into play, review the top 4 cards of your library, put all goblin cards reviewed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. We're running definitely a 4 of these. Almost all cards in our deck are goblin cards, including our 1 removal spell Tarfire. If we're running out of cards, we can fetch it with Goblin Matron and get a fresh refill. Awesome card, a 4-off. Sling Gang Lieutenant, 1 black, 3 colorless, creature goblin. When Sling Gang Lieutenant enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Sacrifice a goblin, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This card is really good vs burn decks and great vs lifelink creatures. Simply block a creature card with lifelink, sacrifice a goblin. Before the damage step, your opponent is losing life and you're gaining life. And in that way preventing your opponent from gaining life. A 2-off, the last card in the main board, Goblin Mob Boss. 2 red, 2 colorless, legendary creature Goblin Warrior. A 3/3. If you tap it, put X a 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of goblins you control. If you manage to play this card, if you've got a Sling Gang Lieutenant on the board or a Basilic Mons, you have won the game. Creating at instant speed a lot of blockers or attackers, Goblin Mob Boss, a 1-off. Goblin Vials has become one of my favorite decks at the moment. It requires advanced Magic the Gathering skills and a lot of practice to pilot this deck correctly. The deck provides all the answers you might need during a game of Modern. It contains removal with Munition Experts. It contains life gain with Sling Gang Lieutenant. Thanks to Aether Vial and Cavern of Souls, this deck has become really a pain in the ass for control players. Do not mistaken, this deck is not an aggro deck. This is a mid-range grind deck. Let's switch to the sideboard. For the sideboard we're running 2 Alpine Moons, 1 red enchantment. As Alpine Moon enters the battlefield, choose a non-basic land card name. Land your opponent controls with the chosen name lose all land types and abilities and they gain. Tap it at 1 mana of any color. A 2-of Great Fierce Tron and Valakut. Since we're running Feud of Ruin, a 4-of Mainboard, this will provide the answers we need via Tron and Valakut. A 2-of Leyline of the Void, 2 black, 2 colorless enchantment. If Leyline of the Void is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. We're running a 3-of vs Dredge and Lightning Skelemental decks, which are regaining popularity at the moment. More Grave Hate, Gravedigger's Cage, 1 colorless, artifact, creature cards can't enter the battlefield from graveyards or libraries. Players can't cast cards in graveyards or libraries. I included this one next to Leyline of the Void to preventing cards like Collected Company and Devoided Druid decks. 4 cards as Grave Hate. Thoughtseize, 1 black. Sorcery, target player reviews his or her hand, you choose a non-land card from it, that player discard that card and you lose 2 lives. We're running a 3-of Great Fierce combo decks, at least we can try to attempt to remove a 1 if there are key cards needed for that combo. Collective Brutality, 1 black, 1 colorless. A sorcery, Escalate. To escalate, discard a card, pay this cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. Choose 1 or more. If you want more, we need to escalate, and that's discarding a card. Target opponent reviews his or her hand. You choose an instant or sorcery card from it, the player discard that card. Second ability, target creature get -2/-2 until the end of turn. Third ability, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Great card vs Burn, we can remove a Boar's Charm or a Lightning Bolt, gain 2 life and removing an Eidolon. Or even better, removing a Plague Engineer from the game that's preventing us casting goblins. Definitely a 3-of as an answer for Plague Engineer and Burn. Another Goblin Creator Maker, 1 black, 1 colorless, creature Goblin Warrior. Pay 1 colorless, sacrifice Goblin Creator Maker and choose 1. Goblin Creator Maker deals 2 damage to target creature or destroy target colorless non-land permanent. We include these cards via artifacts or a Plague Engineer and basically for any other colorless shenanigans. Goblin Trashmaster, 2 black, 2 colorless, creature Goblin Warrior. Other goblins you control get +1/+1, sacrifice a goblin, destroy target artifact. Great card vs Affinity and also great vs Plague Engineer, a 1-of. If you might wonder what I'm meaning with Plague Engineer, it's a card really good vs Goblin Vials. 1 red, 2 colorless, creature carrier, it has Death Touch. It's a 2/2, as Plague Engineers enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. If our opponent chooses to choose a goblins, creature of the chosen type, your opponent's control get -1/-1. So basically it can kill 50% of our deck. We need to have answers for this. Then the last sideboard card, a Goblin Chainwhaler. 3 red, creature Goblin Warrior. First strike. When Goblin Chainwhaler enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. Great card vs elemental decks, elfish decks, or great card to Vial in before declaring blockers. This was Goblin Vials. I really hope you enjoyed this deck. If you did like this deck, please leave a like, or even better, subscribe to my channel. It will definitely motivate me to make more videos in the near future. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. I started this channel at January 1st, 2019. And in 2020 I've almost got 100 subscribers and more than a few hundred likes and thousands of views. Thank you very much everybody for sharing the passion Magic the Gathering, and I'll see you in my next deck video.